Welcome back to A to Z here on Locked On Sports Atlanta, free on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Search Locked On Sports Atlanta, of course, now on Roku TV as well. Give me a follow on Twitter at Mark Zinno. Follow the entire network at Locked On ATL. I want to remind you guys, tomorrow, Friday, we're doing one of our ATL hangouts here on Locked On Sports Atlanta. All the shows will come together like Voltron. We will come together and form one big show for Locked On Sports Atlanta. So make sure you guys check us out tomorrow for a very special edition of Locked On Sports Atlanta. Before we get to that, and before we get to the Atlanta Braves, now let's get to a shovel of wisdom.
Brace yourselves, because it's time for the shovel of wisdom.
You know how we do it every day. Got to set somebody straight. Saying you're doing something stupid, we'll do it right here by whacking them upside the head with a shovel. You can do so on my Twitter account at Mark Zinno. Use the hashtag shovel of wisdom. And today my shovel goes to Magnus Carlsen. You won't know who Magnus Carlsen is, but unless you are a chess aficionado. But apparently there is a scandal brewing in the chess world because Hans Niemann, a 19-year-old kid from San Francisco, California, defeated Norwegian Grandmaster Magnus Carlsen at the Cinque Field Cup in St. Louis, Missouri on September 4th. Now, the stunning news of this defeat here by at the hands of 19-year-old Hans Niemann by of Magnus Carlsen reverberated throughout the chess world. And apparently, Magnus believes that his opponent, Hans Niemann, was cheating. And online people watching were quick to accuse Niemann of cheating, despite no evidence at all. And they were saying that players could use vibration-based buttons placed in their shoes to communicate with a chess engine hidden somewhere in their clothing to gain outside advice on what moves to play, according to one website. The computer systems predict the game outcomes and provide the recommendations with how to win. Now, the vibrating shoes theory sparked the unfounded allegations that Niemann was tapping into a computer using a prostate massager, which only goes in one place, folks. Not really sure how all that would work. Not really sure why you'd put it there. Not really sure if you're getting frisked at all during this event, like that you would need to hide something there. But the idea that somebody is putting something up there to cheat in a game of chess, beyond far-fetched. Magnus, you took an L. Take another L because, well, your theory is ellishly stupid. There you go. I worked too hard on that. Okay, I know. Moving on. Braves lose again yesterday to the San Francisco Giants. They finished their road trip 4-4, which in reality I don't think is all that awful. All things considered, you know, they're still a half game out behind the Mets in the standings. Mets will start a series with the Pirates tonight. Braves have the night off. They start a series with the Phillies. And, you know, look, I'll be the first one to tell you that I was wrong. Only because, you know, I had made so much about the schedules that were there down the stretch and how much I thought that would play a big part of how the rest of the season would go. And in reality, the Mets have just stunk it up over the course of, the beginning of this month. They are, 6 now and 7 since the beginning of September? And if you even go to September 3rd on, which is, you know, an arbitrary date just because they lost, they are 4-7. So, you know, they've struggled to say the least. And now they're going to get a 4-game series with Pittsburgh. They got a chance to get right. But, you know, it's one of these deals where they have not lived up to expectations. They get 4 against Pittsburgh. They still get to play Oakland. But they have to go to Milwaukee and then to Oakland before they come back home from Miami. And then, of course, the Braves series is coming up. And the same thing for the Braves. You know, now that they're back home, they get Philly, Washington before they see the Mets. So everything here in the Northeast, 3, 4, and 3. And they'll be done with the Phillies here by the end of this next 7 games. Or 10 games, I should say. There was an interesting article by Dave O'Brien in The Athletic about Kenley Jansen and his lack of giving a rip about what everybody is saying about him or the boos that he's getting from fans now that he's starting to hear them. And, part of me looks at it and goes, that's kind of what I want from my closer. I want to be able to uh, have a guy who can tune out all that noise, get to the mound in the ninth inning, no matter what the situation is. High leverage, medium leverage, low leverage, get outs and get out of there with a win or save and a win for that matter. And so I certainly appreciate his willingness to tune everybody out because he's been around a long time and he knows how to do that. I don't necessarily think he's genuinely bothered by it. I think, when you read Dave O'Brien's column, he's more bothered by his actual pitching than he is the reaction to his pitching, if that makes sense. Right? Like he knows he should be better than what he's done and he's not. And that begins to get people a little bit agitated. And as you go down the stretch here in these final couple of weeks of the season, as they're trying to catch the Mets, well, you know, they got a guy in waiting, and I'm sure that Jansen is well aware that he could lose his job to Iglesias. I know Snit said out loud, it's day to day. They'll continue to evaluate it. That might just be something he said to the media. I still have a hard time believing he's ever going to remove Jansen from that role. Unless he goes through a stretch where it's like back to back and another one where it's back to back at 3 out of 4, he's going to give him every opportunity to hold on to that closing job. And part of me says as he should. You have to live with a little trepidation. It's part of the deal when it comes to picking a closer and sticking with them and everything else. I mean, none of this stuff is easy, and it's always easy to say that you've got a better answer and what to do. Well, not 100% sure that there is a better answer right now. Iglesias getting the ninth is the easy thing to do. If he gets struck or knocked around in his first attempt to close, then what do? You go back to Jansen? I mean, that's why sometimes staying the course in baseball is better than changing things up, especially when you look at the larger sample size of 162 games and what they're going to be up against. I think that in and of itself lends to trying to stay the course as long as possible in a situation like this, especially when you're playing. If you're not playing well, it's a different conversation. When the Braves are where they are and they're on the cusp of what they're on the cusp of, you kind of hold what you got and let your horses do the work. So we'll see if he decides to make a change. I don't think he will. Speaking of horses, by the way, Ozzie Albies had another good outing in Gwinnett as he continues his rehab. I'm curious at what point in time they bring him back up, and when they do it, that they're going to want to get him at least 7 to 10 games before the postseason starts. So they've got a very small window here to. You got to figure the last 10 games of the year, are starting Monday, September 26th, last 9 games of the year. 3 at Washington, home for the 3 against New York, and then 3 in Miami. Could it be then or probably sooner? Maybe. Maybe they bring him up when they head back out on the road again. But you have to believe it's coming soon. Oh, by the way, I'll add one more thing. At this point in time, you've only got 3 reliable starters. Fried, Strider, and Wright. That's it. Morton